Qatar has no relationship with the state of Israel, and at the same time, Qatar was the mediator. Moreover, Qatar is also hosting the political leadership of Hamas.
Pierre has worked in conflict zones, including Bosnia, Ukraine, Syria, and the Central African Republic. He has advised NGOs, governments, and armed groups on justice, amnesty, reparation, truth commissions, forced disappearances, international humanitarian law, and human rights. Pierre Hazan, welcome to the studio.
Hello.
Great pleasure to have you here. Look, no one would think that the job of a mediator in wars and armed conflicts is simple, ever simple. But even goals like stopping the fighting or saving lives or releasing hostages can come with a huge array of ethical dilemmas and choices as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I guess one of the most classical dilemmas is about the peace versus justice.
Right.
You want the bad guys to be at the negotiating table, but in the same time, you want to put them on the dock. And it's very difficult to find the right equilibrium. So there is some kind of tension between the search for peace and the search for justice.
And as a general rule, presumably you would have thought in that situation, peace is more important than justice, or can one not make a rule of thumb like that?
Well, you're trying to accommodate both, and one way to do it is to try to have a sequencing approach, to have peace as soon as possible, and to introduce justice elements whenever it's possible. There is also, when you can also redefine justice, which means not only criminal justice, but could mean restorative justice, could mean reparations, could be access to truth. So it means, so you can give something to the victims. And it's very important to fight against impunity, obviously.
And how important is personal chemistry, things apart from the facts, you know, the manner in which people get on, what the personalities of people are like, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, obviously, working in the Basque Country or in Ukraine and Russia has nothing to do with working in the Sahel region. So you need to understand the dynamics of a society, the culture of a people, and a lot of these people, I mean, I'm talking about the leaders, sometimes they are traumatized, but also they are pretty cynical, pretty cold, and they work almost business-like. So it's a strange mixture.
Yeah, I can imagine. Look, one conflict that, of course, everyone's thinking about at the moment is Israel versus Hamas in Gaza. You write about how the negotiations involving Qatar, among others, which led to hostage releases, could be viewed as hugely problematic. Tell us what you mean by that.
No, I think it was. I think it's without any precedent that there was a deal to exchange hostages against a number of Palestinian prisoners, but also to extend the ceasefire. I mean, it's a new type of deals. It's a bit surprising, and I think it's really interesting what's happening now. I mean, yesterday there was the International Court of Justice, which gave some provisional measures. But in the same time, we have seen behind the scene, more exactly, a lot of discussions, negotiations, mediation between the Qataris, the Americans, the Egyptians, to try to put an end to the situation. So there is, here again, you see a justice element happening, and at the same time, you see mediation happening behind the scene.
So, I mean, specifically that one, the negotiations with Qatar. You said it was a completely new kind of deal, and it's unusual. You mean because basically the release of hostages was specifically tied to how long a ceasefire was going to last?
Yeah, it's one element. I mean, the other element, obviously, is Qatar has no relationship with the state of Israel. And at the same time, Qatar was the mediator. Moreover, Qatar is also hosting the political leadership of Hamas and its main donor, actually, which creates a kind of very bizarre situation.
Is it important in this sort of situation, in that sort of situation, or in any sort of situation, to find a way to park end goals? Because some people would say there can never be peace between Israel and Hamas until you have either a Palestinian state, or until you have a single state, or until Israel is eradicated, or until Hamas is eradicated. Is it important to just sort of take the big questions and just say, let's not talk about that for now, let's talk about the immediate? Or is there space for both?
Well, I think there's space for both, but there are only two ways when war finishes. One is through military victory, and the other one is through mediation and negotiation. And here, I don't see the Palestinian question disappearing, and I don't see the state of Israel disappearing. So one day there will be some type of compromise.
Yeah, sure. No, understood.